Hola a todos y bienvenidos a este episodio súper especial porque hoy nos acompaña Adam Oliver, Community Manager de los estudios Unit2 Games, británicos, y desarrolladores de CRAYTA, este juego que llega el 1 de julio gratis para Stadia Pro, en exclusivo para Stadia. Y en esta entrevista aclaramos muchas de las dudas que teníamos, incluso os puede servir para haceros más a la idea de qué clase de juego se trata CRAYTA y qué esconde detrás de ese extraño concepto de videojuego sobre crear juegos. Hoy además estoy con Ani, que ya la conocéis de Podcastadia, que muy amablemente nos ha echado una mano con el inglés, ya que esta entrevista está completamente en inglés, pero no os preocupéis porque nos hemos tomado la molestia, tanto Ani y yo, de traducirlo al español y poneros los subtítulos aquí debajo para que podáis ir siguiendo la conversación. Por mi parte, recomendaros que veáis la entrevista hasta el final, porque Adam nos comenta cosas súper interesantes sobre el juego, y sin más os dejo ya con la entrevista, compañeros, que la disfrutéis. Muy bien, pues aquí estamos con el Community Manager de Unit2 Games, Adam, bienvenido, welcome. Y con Ani de Podcastadia, ya la conocéis, que nos va a ayudar con el inglés, porque esta entrevista va a ser en inglés. Y vamos a intentar subtitularlo todo para que quede bien entendido. Tenemos unas preguntas preparadas para Adam. Y vamos allá, Ani, cuando quieras.
Okay. Hi guys. So let's start with the first question. What is CRAYTA, and how would you define a game to create more games?
So the way we describe CRAYTA is as a collaborative and accessible game development platform. So essentially, at the same time as being a game in itself, it's also a platform for other people to create their own games. And that's really the core part of it. So I'd say, yeah, it's quite a unique sort of category. It doesn't strictly fit into any game, but it's very much a creation-based game.
Okay. In percentages, how much of video game itself is CRAYTA, and how much is a tool for creating video games?
So it really depends on the sort of player that you want to be in CRAYTA. So CRAYTA is completely open for anyone who just wants to come along as a player and just try out the ever expanding variety of games that other users are creating. So anytime a user publishes a game, that becomes available for everyone to play. So we expect, a few weeks after launch, there'll be a whole ton of games that other users can come in and just play, just jump between different games. And we expect that will probably be 80 to 90% of people will generally just want to go and play some of the games. And we expect everyone will at least start with that. And then maybe those extra 10 or 20% that are feeling more creative will start to dig a bit deeper and try and maybe remix some of the example games that we provide, or really start trying to get into the coding and try and make their own games to share with the community.
That leads to the next question, which is how difficult is to create a game inside of CRAYTA?
So that really depends on what sort of gameplay you're trying to create, and the way you want to access the tools. So we've made it so that the creation side of CRAYTA actually has two modes, which we call basic mode and advanced mode. And basic mode is actually fully accessible on keyboard as well as a controller. And that essentially allows users to control their character using controls similar to something like Minecraft. And they can place voxels, they can use more advanced tools like voxel growing and eroding, and line tools and extrude tools. And they can also import assets from the community tab that we have. So if I say I was a coder and I created Capture the Flag game and published the logic for that, someone else could import it into their own game while they're just playing on a controller, and sort of wire up the relevant pieces to the correct sort of the flags and things in their game. So actually you can create much more complex games by using what other people have published for you. And then on the deeper end of that, you can go into advanced mode and you can actually start using the built-in Lua code editor to create all of your own custom logic for your game.
So you said it's possible to import some external assets to the game?
So at the moment, what you can do is you can import assets that other people have published. So if I was using CRAYTA and I make, say, a time trial race package, I can publish that for you and you can import that into your game. And you can also import external images to use in your UI. So say you have a health sprite or something, you can import that into the game and use that. Later on after launch, we plan to open up a bigger asset import pipeline to allow users to import things like sounds or meshes of their own, but that's quite a bit
Okay.
later down the roadmap.
Okay, next one. For me, that I'm not creative at all, could I play something when I enter on CRAYTA the first day?
Yes, so as soon as you enter CRAYTA when we launch, which is coming up fairly soon, there's about 10 or 11 games that we provide for you,
Okay.
which have been made partly by us and partly by some of the indie developers that were part of the indie fund. So those games, we've shown them in some of our showcase videos on YouTube, and they'll be available at launch, as well as actually a couple of the games we've been making on the streams as well, if you followed those. And then hopefully within a couple of days, some smaller games will already be starting to get published by other users.
Can you tell us some examples of these day one games that you have prepared?
Yeah, sure. So I think we've got all of them shown on our YouTube channel now, but some of my favorite ones, there's a game called Super Doom War, which was by Spilt Milk, some indie developers, and that's essentially a sort of competitive arena game where this giant wall moves backwards and forwards and pushes players off the arena, and you have to shoot holes in it and then jump through the holes to score different amounts of points.
Okay.
It's just crazy fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen props or something like that, or
Yeah,
props hunt. It's like hide and stick.
Yeah, so there was Prop Hunt. So that was a game that I made as one of the launch games. And in that one, it's essentially one hunter.
Simple, but very, very fun at the same time.
Yeah, it was actually quite easy to make, given creators' tools. And yeah, you have one hunter and everyone else is a prop that can turn into like a tree or a toilet or a chair. And they essentially have to play a game of hide and seek with the hunter. And it works really nicely.
Very nice.
How many people can play together in one session of, I don't know, prop hunt, or is there a limit?
Yeah, so it depends. It depends on the game and what the creator has decided. The maximum limit for any game at the moment is 20 players in one session. And that actually extends into the editor as well. So the editor is fully collaborative, and up to 20, or you and 19 friends can all be editing a game at the same time. But some people may set lower limits on their game. So for example, the creator cooking game is limited to 4 players per kitchen.
Okay. Next question is if there is any in-game purchasing or everybody will have all the content for free. Well, not for free, but when you purchase the game, you have everything for you at your.
Yeah, so when you get Creator, it's going to be free with Pro, or you can purchase it separately. We don't want to create any barriers to creation, so that means everything that you can use to create your games will be completely available. So it's a level playing field for everyone. There will be some microtransaction structure, but that will purely be for things like cosmetics, so that won't affect gameplay and it won't affect the sort of games that you can actually create as a user.
Next question. Okay. When we heard about CRAYTA for the first time, the first thing we thought was it was something similar to Garry's Mod or Dreams, like in PlayStation. Does CRAYTA has any of these? Is it similar to these games?
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely some similarities between those games, and those are probably some of the very few games that are in this quite new genre of game creation games. So it's certainly quite different to Garry's Mod, and it's also very different to Dreams, and obviously those two games have big differences between them as well. And I suppose in a way we're sort of in the middle, so we allow controller creation, but we also have the Lua coding side from Garry's Mod, which is quite similar to what they implement. So I'd say, yeah, we belong probably in the same sort of category of games, but we're a very different offering to both.
Okay, let's see. Okay, now we're talking about your relationship with Stadia. For the moment, Stadia is exclusive. How was the CRAYTA? Yeah, was exclusive, a temporary exclusive for Stadia. How was the development and the conversations between your company and Stadia itself?
So I haven't worked directly on CRAYTA. My job's actually been working within CRAYTA to create the games and demos and so on. But I can probably say from my colleagues' experience that working with Stadia has actually been really positive in quite a few ways. So it sort of streamlines the development process because you're no longer having to cater for all sorts of different PCs that might be able to run the game. You know what a Stadia gamelet can do, and you know that it's going to be either a 1080p resolution or a 4K resolution and things like that. So that's really helped, and just being cloud-based has really sped up the development process. And
So
I think
you are not only the community manager, but you are also a creator and a designer of a game inside CRAYTA. So you have experience enough to see how Stadia and the cloud works. Do you think it's really the future of video games?
yeah, I think I've sort of had mixed views on it, but I think I'm definitely coming to the conclusion it is definitely going to be the future of video games. And that's as Stadia starts to release more and more features, and just between one day and the next, I'm now able to just play Assassin's Creed on my phone and thinking, oh, hang on, okay, yeah, there is definitely something big in this.
Yeah,
That's quite mind blowing. And
mind blowing. Yes.
so I think definitely the way it just empowers everyone to be able to play any sort of game on any sort of device, no matter the power of that device, is really something quite special.
So
Okay.
in the future, CRAYTA is going to be launched in other platforms, like local platforms to PC or PlayStation or Xbox, right?
So at the moment, all we're saying is that CRAYTA is a Stadia exclusive. That's all we can say for now.
Okay.
But we assume that it's a positive
That's all we can say.
So, going together with this, we assume that it is going to be published in other platforms like PC or maybe other consoles. But is there any characteristic, any feature that is only available or very specific from Stadia, like crowd play or stage share?
Yeah, so we announced a couple of weeks ago that CRAYTA will be the first game on Stadia to be using state share beta, which obviously is a feature that is only possible through being on Stadia. And that'll allow users to share any game that they're playing that they're finding enjoyable if they're streaming or something or want to play with friends. But even down to the level of a game they're editing, you can actually just open up the main menu when you're in the editor, take a link, send that to your friends, and they can all join the editor with you. And we think that's really powerful.
Interesting.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the questions are about creation mode. We have seen you making simple mini games on YouTube, but where's the limit? How big? Imagine someone that is really expert in making games and has the knowledge enough to make something bigger. Is there any limit in terms of size or in terms of I don't know, features that a game in CRAYTA can have?
Yeah, so there's definitely limits. In terms of the actual size of a specific world, there's no size limit, but it really depends on the complexity of that world. So if you had, thousands of objects in that world and you had loads of things running scripts and effects and so on, then it couldn't be particularly big. Whereas if it was more sparsely populated, you could go for a really, really big map. And actually you can make the voxel meshes that we use. So the things built out of blocks, you can make really big. I think a good example is the Huddle for Warmth game, which is one of the showcase videos, which is such a big map that I've played it loads and I still can't find my way around. It's it's just this huge icy landscape. It's a really cool game. There's some limits in terms of obviously the processing power of what you can do with scripts. So, you can't be like doing crazy kind of pathfinding every frame on hundreds of entities or anything like that. But what we do provide is when you preview your game, you can see a performance window and that will show you things like the frames per second or how much time each script is taking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we assume that you have the final control and you can avoid that a game crashed or it affects the
performance.
Performance, exactly.
Yeah, so every creator, when they're making their game, can preview it whenever they want. They can preview with friends, and they can watch the performance window to see what's going on and make sure that they're always hitting 60 frames a second and that nothing's going too crazy in the script. So they can make sure when they publish it, it's not going to have any bad experiences.
How is the performance of CRAYTA in Stadia? Is going to be 4K 60 frames per second?
Yes, it's going to be 4K 60.
Wow. Okay.
Great. We've heard that a creator with a successful creator can even make money in the platform. We've heard crazy amounts, like $5,000. Is that true? I mean, how is this possible? And is it going to be payments or paid games inside the platform? And who is going to pay these creators? How is this going to work?
Okay, so yeah, I think that was a couple of weeks ago. We published a blog post which sort of outlined for creators the way that they can make money from our prize fund, and that prize fund specifically is $25,000 per month, which is split into a couple of categories. So there's a pool for just the most successful games, and there's a pool for the new and upcoming games. So if something isn't the most successful but it looks really exciting and it's rising up fast, and then some spot prizes as well. So if we just think that that's really cool or that uses this feature really well, then there's a couple of prizes we can hand out there. In terms of paid games within CRAYTA, every game will be free for as long as we can see anyway, for everyone to go and play. The money is coming from us essentially, so we're paying the creators.
So basically, you are acting as CRAYTA is also acting as a talent hunter.
Yeah, essentially. We think that CRAYTA is a really good platform for people to actually develop their own games, and you could actually create your own portfolio of games all within CRAYTA, and we want to incentivize developers to come and do that and to create the best quality games that they can.
Okay, is that affordable for a company to pay so big amounts for? So
the game is free, and you will pay every month to the better creators. Is this affordable for Unity games, or where's behind that?
Yeah, so the prize fund isn't something that we plan to continue forever, but it will certainly be in place for the first couple of months to ensure that we get a really good selection of games. So if you're a newcomer to the game within 2 months, there's already some really high quality games that other people have been making. We do plan into the future to be able to give money to creators for what they produce. But that might change from the prize fund. We might come up with different ways of doing it. But at the moment, obviously, the costs of developing a game itself are obviously really high. So actually, that amount of money is something that we can definitely do for the next couple of months to try and get more creators.
Totally. Okay, we have seen many times the design of your playable characters in CRAYTA, but we're talking about creating a video game. Is it possible that we design our own character? Is it possible that we have, I don't know, just an example, a fox with 3 tails, for example?
So this kind of comes down to the way I was saying that CRAYTA is in itself a game, as well as being a platform for people to create games. So the characters are sort of a very central part of CRAYTA, which means that the character you create goes with you into every game you play and even into the editor. So at the moment, at launch at least, you won't be able to create your own different characters for games. You can do things like, attach a backpack to Team A or something like that to differentiate people. But we want CRAYTA to feel like one coherent universe, so all the games exist together in the same sort of space, which means your character stays with you throughout every game.
So customization is available, but we are going to be humans all the time. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, at the moment, although I think there's a couple of different face types. There's elf and cyborg, I think, so some variants.
Humanoides.
Okay, just last question of this block. Let's say that I've created a game, and who has the ownership? Who owns the game, really? Who has the rights about this creation? Is it the creator, or is it CRAYTA, or is it Stadia?
That's a really good question. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I believe it's in the prize fund blog post that we put out. But I think that CRAYTA owns the rights to all of the games built within it. And that's therefore how we hand out the money to the creators. But I think those details are written in the prize fund blog.
Okay, but see, it makes sense. It has a logic. Next question is about the future of CRAYTA. When you launch CRAYTA in the final version, do you think or do you plan to improve or make DLC or make any implementation later in the future?
Yeah, so when we launch CRAYTA this summer, that won't be the final version. CRAYTA is going to be a game as a service, which means the version we launch is essentially the first version. And every couple of months, we will continue to update the game for essentially as long as we can see into the future. So CRAYTA will just keep on improving. And while CRAYTA is really good at launch, we've got a whole list of different things that we do want to add into CRAYTA, different features, and expanding the list of things that creators can actually do with CRAYTA. So, for example, you currently can't easily drive vehicles in CRAYTA, and that's something that we want to add in following launch.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So, just to finish this interview, is there anything you want to add or anything you want to say to the community of Stadia players?
Yeah, pick up CRAYTA as soon as it comes out, especially if you have a Stadia Pro account, because then it's free with Pro. So you want to grab it while you can and get creating. It is really good fun. And you don't have to make a game. You can just build an environment. You can take a starter game like a Capture the Flag and just build something nice around that without changing the gameplay. You know, just even if you don't think you're creative, just give it a go and you might be surprised at what you can make.
I'll give it a try.
Cool.
Okay, Adam. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
One last question. The game is free for Stadia Pro users, but you can buy it on the Stadia store if you are not Pro, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And we're going to be announcing the pricing fairly soon, but we haven't announced it yet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Cool. Thank you for having me on.
Good luck with the project,
Yes.
and let's see. Let's hope that the CRAYTA is a great success.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bueno, compañeros, pues hasta aquí la entrevista a Adam Oliver. Espero que os haya gustado. Muchas gracias a los que habéis tenido la paciencia de llegar hasta aquí. Ya sé que una entrevista en inglés, leyendo subtítulos, se hace algo pesada, pero creo que hemos podido tener datos muy interesantes para saber lo que viene este 1 de julio. No os robo más tiempo, simplemente pediros un like por el trabajo que se hace aquí detrás, que no es fácil. Dejadme en los comentarios qué os ha parecido esta entrevista y recordad estar bien suscritos al canal para no perderos más contenidos sobre Stadia. Activar la campanita para que os notifique cuando subimos vídeos. Recordad que también podéis seguirme en Twitter, @EstadoStadia, para estar al día de toda la movida. Nos vemos en la próxima, compañeros. Adiós.